Cześć! I hope you are doing wonderful. Today I am very happy to share with you part 2 of my chair makeover. I'll show you step by step what I did to change the upholstery on this vintage chair. I started with the back. I fit the fabric and pinned it to the existing upholstery in the way that the print is symmetrical and the border is on the bottom. I cut out the excess and hand sewn the sides to get nice round shapes. I used the Tree of Life fabric that I designed and it's available on my site. Feel free to share, like and subscribe to my channel. I sewn the prepared fabric on my sewing machine, following the hand stitch. Then I fit it onto the back side of the chair. As you can see, it did fit great. I began attaching the sides of the fabric with the upholstery stapler. I cut the corners and folded the middle part of the fabric. You can secure it with a hand stitch. I stapled the bottom and the sides. Then I began working on the seating cushion. In here, I am fitting the fabric so that the pattern on the cushions is connected and creates one continuous look. I measured the squares needed for the top and bottom, and after cutting the fabric, marked the corners and cut again. I created piping using the upholstery cord and attached it to the squares. You can snip the piping with your scissors so that you achieve nice round corners. I fit the fabric so that the pattern is lined up well and measured the width that I needed for the middle part. I hand sewn the middle part of the front so that everything is nice and even before I used my sewing machine. After I finished the front, I started sewing the zipper to the back. I wanted to create a placket that nicely hides the zipper. When the first part of the zipper was finished, I matched the print with pins and hand sewn the fabric to the zipper. Then secured it with my sewing machine. Here's the look at the finished back. I marked the middle with my pins and sewn the parts together. I needed to add a bit of length to the middle. I snipped the corners so they fit well. I had to use 4 separate parts because my fabric was too narrow. Then I attached the bottom of the cushion. I needed to add a little bit of foam to the seating. I cut out a piece of fabric in this shape and pin this in place using the safety pins. I will be sewing this by hand before I sew this on my sewing machine. I fit the fabric onto my chair and it fit great. Then I stapled it in place. My camera died, so you'll see the process from the opposite side. I hand sewn the fabric to the existing upholstery, so it created a nice round shape. Then I added interfacing to reshape my front slightly. I secured it with staples. This was trial and error until it looked great. The next step is to cover this element. I have to take off some of this fabric because it's quite tight in here. I removed the staples and added interfacing. I cut it out in the shape and began stapling the fabric to this element. The hardest part was to fit the fabric properly onto the rounded shape. After a few tries, I finally got it. It was much easier doing it on the other side. Although I have a nice allowance, it's still a bit close in here. That's why I will add piping and cover this part and secure it so it's not visible. I began hand sewing. I added the interfacing so that the front looks good and stapled it. After reshaping this, I think it looks quite nice, and I will add some glue in here to secure it and leave it to dry for a night. As you can see, the sitting part was damaged the most. I removed all of the upholstery, foam and belts altogether, leaving only the front fabric. I attached new belts to the frame, stapling it multiple times so it was secured properly. Then I weaved perpendicular belts so they created a net. After that, I stapled the front at the bottom, then at the top. After that, I stapled the front at the bottom. Then at the top. I cut out the excess. I matched the seating fabric and stapled it in place. Then added interfacing on top of the old foam. I only used one narrow stripe of my fabric and sewn it together with the vintage fabric that I had on hand. I started attaching the sides. I needed a little more time to shape the fabric nicely on the corners. All the parts were finished, so I could put the chair together. I felt it looked beautiful, but I thought it needed a little finishing touch. I didn't like the gap between the chair and the floor, so I measured, pinned, and sewn 2 parts of my fabric to fill the gap on the front and back. Then I hand sewn it in place. I really love the result. My Tree of Life fabric looks amazing and the chair fits great within my living room. And it's very comfortable. I am so proud that I was able to finish this project. A few months ago, I was talking to my friend about the chair, and she asked me whether I can do the upholstery. I told her that if you really set your mind on something, you can do everything. It may take a lot of time, but achieving it makes you feel amazing. I hope that this video is helpful and it inspired you as well. Let me know in the comments what do you think about the result. Do zobaczenia!